Hi there, and welcome to my Mage Knight playthrough. This is for the Mage Knight tournament that started in the solo board games Facebook group. My name is Oddvar, and I will be playing with Arythea with Norovas as a dummy. This is the 5th round of the tournament, where the challenge was to take on a city of level 10, as well as a Megapolis of level 15. We also had some rule variants in play. We used random tile rotation, which I think makes it harder because I think the tiles are designed so that, regardless of which ones you start off with, you have a chance to do something. Later on in the game, it has less of an impact, and it could even play into your advantage, depending on how they are rotated. We also used night arrival, which means you start at night, and that definitely makes it harder because you can't see defenders in keeps and mage towers, even if you're next to them, and you don't have any spells to use anyway for the black mana, and you miss out on the day tactic planning, which I tend to use for the first round. Finally, we had control offers, which does make it a bit easier, and you can sort of control which cards are available, and you can also control which cards and crystals the dummy gets, and hence manage the pace of the dummy. Although I do think you should concentrate on taking the cards you want rather than to try and be too clever with dummy pace management. So without much further ado, let's start with the first night. Right, so my starting hand is not great. I get no move cards. I do get improvisation, which is great, but I would prefer to use it in combat. The map is not great either. There's one rampaging orc, but he is 7 attack and 2 armor with physical resistance. You can use move points to decrease the attack, but I don't have any. If I can take that keep though, that might be a good start. I just don't know what's defending it. As far as tactics, I take the mana search tactic, and dummy gets preparation. I do use the tactic to reroll of the black mana into red, and I do use improvisation to move, and I discard threaten to do so. I do find a really good ancient ruin, but it's way too hard for me at this stage, so I'm gonna have to focus on that keep. Just on that move, I do tend to use to discard influence cards quite often early on, and I do kind of think it might be a mistake because if you don't recruit, you fall behind, and it's harder to catch up if you don't add any influence cards to your deck. Anyway, we're on turn 2, and I did get a move card, although there was swiftness, and I do need 3 to assault the keep. So I play Tranquility sideways. I also did get determination, which is great. I reroll the white mana, so I don't have any use for it, and I get a green, which is useful. Although blue might have been better. Alright, so let's see who the defender is. It's some swordsman. Not the worst, but not the best. If I had one more siege, I could have taken him out, but with the 3 cards I have, I can't both block them and kill them, so I choose to kill them, which means that I have to take 3 wounds. It's kind of annoying that I just play Tranquility sideways for a move, but what can you do? I really wanted to keep concentration, and here we are. I reroll the spent mana, and it turns into blue. I did level up though, and I get some new skills, and a new advanced action card. So the skill I picked is Dark Paths, which gives you 2 more movement in the night and 1 in the day. I also see that regeneration is in the AA offer, and I take that one to help me heal the wounds. Having 3 wounds so early will seriously hamper you, and so this is a bit of a blessing. I also get to draw up to 6 cards because I'm in a keep that I own, which is quite powerful so early in the game. The dummy does his thing, he gets a blue card, so no extra cards. In my next turn, I decide not to do much at all. I just want to heal, so I can use the green source from the green mana from the source to heal 2 of my wounds, and I then re-roll it into a white. Dummy gets a white card as the last one, which means he gets 2 extra, so that's the paciest move he can do. Alright, and then I move reroll white mana into red in the source. Now it's time to explore a bit. So I have 2 move cards, but I decided to use concentration with March so that I get 6 move, and then see what's on the other side before committing to using anything else. So let's see what's in the new tile. Alright, so we got a Mage Tower, a Keep, and a Dungeon, all quite juicy. Unfortunately, 2 of them are on the side of a mountain, which kind of is at the edge of the map, which might not be worth it. I use my skill to move another 2, and then I can use stamina to explore a second tile, which I randomly rotate, and we find a monastery, another rampaging orc, and a mine. We reroll the mana into blue, and then my camera ran out of battery, so there's a little jump, and Dummy has used up all his cards. Now I want to move to the rampaging orc. First I do mana search and reroll 2 blue into a black and a red. I'm looking for a white there for the next turn, but more on that later. I want to move and attack the rampaging orc. He's got 2 1 damage attacks and 4 health, 4 armor, so I can use the red mana from the source to with rage to kill him. And I block one of his attacks with a sideways crystallize, and then I take 1 wound. I get 2 XP, which is not enough to level up, but I do, however, get a blue crystal from the mine. And I reroll the mana into gold, which is pretty useless at this stage. Dummy declares end of round. I put a die there to remind myself. I get 3 white cards, which I had figured out were the remaining ones in my deck. And I also figured out that if I get a white mana, boom, then I have enough to move into the monastery with my skill, and then use the white mana on promise and 1 sideways to get 5 influence to recruit the guardsmen. There's a catch. Guardsmen don't appear in the monastery, and I've made a mistake. They can only be hired in a keep or a village. I guess I aimed to hire them after assaulting the keep, but I didn't have any influence. If only I had saved Threaten at that time, I could have hired them when I was healing my wounds. Oh well, that's not great. It's not an excuse, but I guess I was thinking too hard to how to get the monastery and get the number of influence points to be able to hire them, that I completely failed to think about whether the unit could be recruited there. Anyway, too late to fix now. Let's move on. So at the time I didn't realize this mistake, and I was quite happy with the progress I made in the first night. I conquered a keep, leveled up, and I got a unit. So yeah, all quite good given the fairly hard setup I was given. Now we're on the first day, and I Dummy gets Chivalry, and which is a white card, and also a white mana, which means he has now 3 white crystals, which is dangerous. And here's the map and offers. I quite fancy the Stout Resolve AA card, which can be bought from the monastery. And I do have both of my influence cards in my starting hand. However, I would also quite like to hire another unit once I level up, and maybe that should take priority. For tactics, I pick planning, which means you get 1 more card if you have 2 or more in the previous hand, and Dummy gets mana steal. That means he starts this round. He starts off with a blue card, which means he gets no extra cards. I decide to explore, and I power stamina with a blue mana from the source and explore 2 tiles from where I'm standing on the monastery. First one has an orc, a magic glade, and a village. Not too interesting. And the second one has a mage tower, so we'll see, an orc, a magic glade, and a mine, a deep mine. In the end, I decided not to buy Stout Resolve. Which is a great and versatile card. I want to keep Threaten for recruitment. So instead, I use Promise to just buy 1 healing and heal my 1 wound. I reroll the mana die from blue, and it turns black. And it's Dummy's turn, and he gets another blue, which is great. Now, I draw another card because of my tactic. I get the final wound in my deck. I remember I spent an incredible amount of time here arguing whether to go for the orc or just go straight for the mage tower. In the end, I decided to take the easy XP of the orc instead of just going straight for mage tower. That XP actually gives me enough to level up, which also means my armor is now 3. And these things can make a difference. And I also do like the reputation bonus you get from killing rampaging orcs. Anyway, I killed the orc summoner by using a green mana from the source on concentrate onto swiftness, which takes him out before he can summon anything. The green mana is rerolled into a red, and then it's dummy's turn. He gets a green, which means he gets 1 extra card. Next, I want to move to the mine next to the mage tower, so I use swiftness and my move skill. I take a look at the defense of the mage tower, and it's an illusionist. I decide to camp here and get some more cards, and I also get 2 crystals, one from Crystallize, which I use the red mana for, and green from the deep mine. I can pick up a green or a blue. Mana is rerolled into gold, which is excellent. I should be okay to assault the mage tower next turn. Dummy gets blue again, which is great. Now I assault the mage tower with March and my move skill. I reckon I can deal with any brown unit the illusionist will throw at me, except perhaps the werewolf. So let's see what he has in store for me when he summons a brown unit. Yeah, of course, it's a werewolf. 7 attack with swiftness. I just can't block that. So it's either 3 wounds or 1 wound plus a wound for the unused guardsman, which I do choose. A power-up rage with mana from the source to kill him. I also need to use determination for to get enough power. And then I rerolled mana into white, and for my reward, I've had my eye on Demolish, which is an excellent spell, especially when you're attacking big cities, which I will have to do in this game. So I draw up to my hand limit again, and I get a card called Regeneration, which is fantastic timing. Dummy gets a red, which is great, no extra card. I decide to heal my unit and use Regeneration to do that. I use my green crystal because I want to save the gold mana from the source for combat. I know I haven't drawn Tranquility yet, so I can hopefully use that to get rid of my own wounds later. So I attack the orc and I use the unit to block it, and then I use Improvisation with gold mana and discard Demolish to kill off the orc. Then I reroll the mana die into red and level up again. I did forget to draw a common skill offer from Norvas earlier, so I'll do that now, and it's Stay Sharpshooting. I draw 2 skills from my own stack and choose Hot Swordsmanship, and I also take Pathfinding from the advanced action offer. I think it's always good to have at least 1 advanced move card in your deck, and getting it early is great. Now Dummy draws his last cards, and it's back to me. I use the red mana from the source to power up Threaten, and I play Pathfinding and Mana Pool sideways to get enough influence to recruit the Guardian Golems, which are available in the Mage Tower, by the way. Now I'm hoping I can reroll the mana die into a green, so that I can use Tranquility, but alas, it's another white. Back to Dummy, and he says it's end of the round, sorry. I decide to use my last turn to explore another tile. I use stamina, my skill and battle versatility sideways to get enough move points to do so. And then I spend my final card, which is Tranquility, to heal one of my wounds. Fortunately I didn't get a green mana. Pretty good progress for the first day, I think. I've hired another unit, got a really good spell, and I leveled up twice. I also done a fair amount of exploring. In fact, the next tile is going to be a core tile. It's the second night, and Norvas starts with a blue card and another white mana, which is dangerous. I realize I forgot to add another skill from him to the common skill offer, and I do it now, and this time it's Inspiration, which is a great skill. I refresh the offers and make use of the controlled offers rule variant to discard 1 more AA card, which is Temporal Portal. I think it can be a good card, but I don't like that it requires an action to use. The spells in the offer are all great. I want to have all of them. I'm not too fussed about the units. I already have Guardian Golems and I don't rate the Swordsman. Familiars are powerful but also expensive. Blood Rage is excellent. Maybe I can pick it up if I can find another monastery. The Orc Beast is blocking my way to the Mage Tower and I want to deal with it. My hand is decent, but unfortunately I don't have enough range attack to just take it out. It only does 3 damage, but it's brutal, so I want to block it. But first, tactics. I take Midnight Meditation and Dummy gets Long Night, so he goes first. In hindsight, this is a mistake as I never used the tactics ability and I should have picked a lower number instead to get an extra turn. Anyway, Dummy's third discard is a green, so he discards 1 extra. I use my move skill to move next to the Mage Tower, which triggers an attack from the rampaging Orc Beast. I use the blue mana from the source to power up my Guardian Golems to block him, and then I use Improvisation, again discarding Threaten along with my attack skill to kill the beast. The mana is rerolled into gold. And then I forget about Dummy's turn. This is cheating. I obviously didn't do this on purpose, but it's pretty bad. It basically gives me an extra turn for free. Arg. Anyway, next turn I play Promise Sideways along with my move skill to assault the Mage Tower in the desert. It's a still night, so I don't know what I'm fighting. Turns out it's an Ice Golem. Not too bad. I block it with my Guardsman and kill it with my 2 fire attack skill plus 5 physical via concentration and swiftness. The mana dice reroll into white and then I level up, which means I can have 1 more unit and my base hand size is now 6. As my reward for conquering the Mage Tower, I pick up Expose, which is another great spell for attacking cities. The Dummy's card is green, which means 1 additional card. More exploring is needed. I use my move skill and march to explore 2 core tiles. First we find a dragon on top of a mountain in a wasteland, next to a keep. There's also an ancient ruins there. And then we find the first city, and it's the white one. There's also a keep next to the city, which is great, as I can have a larger hand for the city assault if I own it. So my next goal is to have a peek at the white city defenses, and maybe take one of the keeps. Maybe I can do both. Well, for this turn I decide to do nothing. I just play Crystallize with the white mana from the source, and then reroll the die into blue. Dummy draws a white card, and that means 4 extra. Yikes. I then play Pathfinding, which reduces all terrain cost by 1, so I need 5 to move to the hills and then assault the keep from there. Pathfinding gives 2, my move skill is another 2, and then I play Tranquility Sideways for the last one. I need to conquer this keep or I won't get to see what's in the White City. I could have gone via the monster den, that would have cost 1 more move. Let's see if this will backfire. Of course I don't know what I'm fighting yet, as it is nighttime. An Ice Hero. I use my white crystal with the black mana from the source to cast Mass Expose and remove all fortifications for the hero. I also get range attack 3 and battle versatility adds 1 more, which is enough to kill the hero. It feels a little bit overkill to use Mass Expose to kill a single enemy, but at least I made use of my spell. I reroll the black mana into white and I draw my new hand. I now own 2 keeps, so I get to draw up to 8 cards. But wait, I'm next to the White City now, let's have a look at those defenders. I always draw Grim Legionnaires. At least I'm used to dealing with them now. The Delphana Masters are really strong, and the Gunners are good too. The Shock Troops and Golems should be okay. There's no way I can attack the city in this night though, so I'm start thinking about what to do for the rest of the night. Meanwhile, Dummy uses up his deck. I decide to explore more and hopefully find the Megapolis. I play March and yay, there it is. It is a green-blue level 15 monstrosity and there is 1 hex that I can access without special tools. What's brilliant is that that hex is also next to a keep. So if I own that keep, I can assault the Megapolis with a nice large hand. I decided to assault the keep. I need to clear up the path to the Megapolis and hopefully I have enough power in my deck to take on an unknown grey token. Who is it? Shock Troops. Fortunately, I didn't use Determination nor the blue mana die in my last turn, and so I can easily block the Shock Troops. That means they lose their elusive armor and I can easily kill them with my +2 attack and rage. I also play Regeneration to discard my 1 wound. The mana dice rerolled into white. Dummy declares end of turn, and I turn my attentions to the Orc Summoner, blocking the path to the Megapolis. My last 3 cards work beautifully together to give the Orc -1 armor, and inflict 3 ranged attack, killing him before he can summon his werewolf or whatever. The XP is also enough for me to level up, and I decide to pick Dark Fire Magic, a crystal and mana generating skill, as I don't have anything for that. This one can also generate black mana, which is great. This time I do remember to add a skill to the common offer. It's Bright Negotiation, which is good, but maybe a bit late in this game. For the AA card, I pick Power of Crystals. And that's the end of the second night. Dummy gets Magic Talent, which is a blue card, and yet another white crystal. That's 5 white crystals in his inventory. Dangerous. I remove one more AA card with the controlled offers rule, but keep the spells as they are. Finally, I can add some elite units to the units offer, Ice Mages and Fire Golems, in addition to some Illusionists. I draw 9 cards since I'm in one of my keeps. Then I decide to take the Great Start tactic to get another 2 cards. Dummy gets Early Bird. Now, after the second night, I was very happy with my progress as I found both cities and conquered the keeps next to them. I put myself in a good position for assault. Now, I'm currently pondering whether I can start the assault right away. You can see me looking at the units and calculating how many wounds I would take if I did assault. After much consideration, even with 11 cards, I have to admit I'm a bit short. My 2 units are not that strong and most of my cards are basic. I need to improve my deck and my units. The goal of the second day then becomes getting ready for assault and also scouting out the Megapolis defenses. Mage Knight kind of has this discovery progress phase and then a city assault phase. And once you find the cities, there are limited opportunities to improve your deck usually, as you can't practically go back to previously skipped adventure or fortified sites. And if you don't plan for it, you can end up feeling like your deck is too weak. You start questioning your deck and think, have I put myself in an unwinnable situation? And this is where I am at the moment. I look at the map and consider my options. Shall I go back to my mage tower and buy a spell? Or maybe take down that dragon and enter those ruins? There is still 1 tile left. Perhaps I could explore it and see if there's anything interesting in it. The rewards in the ruins are 1 spell and 1 AA card. That's pretty good. But in order to get there, I need to get rid of that dragon. Let's do it. Dummy already went and got a blue card, which is good. I play Stamina and March to move to the wasteland next to the ruin, which triggers an attack from the dragon. I use Mana Pull to use 2 die from the source, and I power up the fire block of the Guardian Golems and Determination for a total of 4 fire block and 5 normal block. I thought this was enough to block the dragon, but I realize now after the game that I actually need ice block to block fire attack. So I should have put the blue die on the golems. However, if we look at what I use in the combat in total, I use dark fire magic to get a red crystal and a red mana. I use that mana to power up rage and play that with my attack skill, and use the guardsman's attack skill to kill the dragon. Now, if I had put my blue die on the ice block of the golems, I could have used the guardsman for their block, and that would be enough to block the dragon. Then I could have used the red die on rage, and with my attack skill and the basic power of determination, that would actually be enough to kill the dragon, and I could have saved using dark fire magic for later. So hopefully this particular misplay is okay, given I actually ended up not using 1 mana. Either way, the dragon dies and I get some XP and reputation. I also played Power of Crystals to get a green crystal in my inventory. I have a lot of green cards and this will be useful later. The 2 mana die are rerolled into white and black, and I draw another 9 card hand. And then I become a repeat offender, I'm afraid. I forget again to process the dummy's turn. I clearly need some kind of system to make sure I don't forget about this. Back to the game. I want to check out these ruins, so I play March with my move skill and a sideways tranquility to move. I use regeneration to ready my guardian golems, and then I enter the ruins. Which 2 random purple enemies will I face here? It's some monks and ice mages. Certainly not the worst. After much deliberation, I take out the monks with 5 ranged attack thanks to concentration, my green crystal and swiftness. I decide not to block the ice mages, and the guardsmen tank the attack and get injured. I then retaliate with improvisation with the red mana from the source, and I discard Demolish, and also use my attack skill. I reroll the mana to blue and process the dummy, which gets a white card, which means an additional 5 cards. I'm doing things in slightly the wrong order here, but I do need to choose my rewards from the ruins. I pick Fireball as my spell and Into the Heat as my AA card. Both of them are great cards. Then I draw up to my regular hand size, which is 6, since I am no longer near my keeps. Then I yet again forget about the dummy. These mistakes kinda ruin this playthrough, as I'm getting free turns left, right and center. It's annoying, and it's been an eye-opener for myself making this video, and something I will need to sort out for future plays. Anyway, I put the blue mana die on stamina and play pathfinding and use my move skill. That's a total of 7 move points, and I spend 3 to move to the next hex, another 2 to move next to the Megapolis, and then 2 to explore the final tile. On this tile we have yet another keep, 2 rampaging orcs, a deep mine, and a labyrinth. I then challenged the newly revealed rampaging orc, which is a cursed hag. I quickly take it out with my newly obtained fireball, 5 ranged fire damage. Easy. I do use one of my red crystals to power it though. And that ends my turn, and a blue mana die is rerolled to a gold. I'm now again next to my keep, so I draw up to 9 cards. The dummy is finally allowed to have a turn. He gets a green card, and so he gets 1 more card to discard. But wait, I moved next to the Megapolis. Let's have a look at their defenses. Wow, we have a Shadow, a Cryptworm, Delphana Masters, Altem Guardsmen, Illusionists, Fire Mages, Freezers, and a Green Hero. That's not gonna be easy. In my next turn, I decide to hire another unit. I use Swiftness, my move skill, and Into the Heat sideways to generate 4 move points so I can move onto my keep. And then I power up Promise with white mana from the source, and Threaten with my last red crystal for a total of 5 influence, which I then use to hire the fire golems. The white die is rerolled into another white, and dummy uses up his last cards. This should have been the last thing to happen this round, but since I made those mistakes, I do one more hand. I have 3 cards remaining. What can I do with them? Not much really. I decide to move to the hills just outside the keeps, just in case I want to go recruit in the village or the mage tower next round. Then I use the gold mana die on Crystallize and decide to get a white crystal. And that's the end of the second day. I gotta say, at the time I was a bit disappointed with the day. I thought I would assault the White City, at least take out some of the units. Maybe if I had got an optimal starting hand, I could have done it. However, I think with just 2 level 2 units, it was always going to be very difficult. I did manage to get a reasonable amount of XP and even a new spell and an advanced action card. And I think, looking back, that it turned out to be a pretty decent round. And now it's the last night, and I really have to assault and conquer the White City this round. Dummy gets a red card and a blue crystal. That's better. I make use of the control offers rule to refresh an additional AA card, but again I keep the spells as they are. The unit offer is super tasty this round, 2 catapults. I choose the sparing power tactic, and dummy gets from the dusk. I want to start with recruiting one of those catapults, but I only have 1 influence card in my hand, Threaten. I decide to use Dark Fire Magic to get a red crystal and a red mana, and use the mana on Threaten, and then I play 4 cards sideways to generate the required amount of influence. This is a lot of cards, but they are mainly movement cards, and I don't need that much movement this round. Dummy gets a green card, so 1 extra. And then it's time to assault the White City. I use my skill for 2 move points to move into the city. I use Mana Pull, so I can use 2 mana dice. The white die goes to Expose, which I used on the Delphana Masters to remove all resistances this combat. I also get ranged attack 2 from Expose, which I use on the Grim Legionnaires, along with 3 siege attack from the catapult, and 2 mana powered swiftnesses for for a total of 11 damage, which kills the Grim Legionnaires. I get the mana from my swiftness cards from my white crystal and from the basic ability of concentration. The Grim Legionnaires are unfortified, so we can use ranged attack, although he does have +1 armor from the White City bonus, which is why I need 11 damage in total. Then it's the blocking phase. I block the Delphana Masters with Determination powered with my blue crystal, that's 5, +3 from the Fire Golems and 2 from the Guardian Golems. The other 3 units I do not block. Then we are in the assigned damage phase. The golems hit the fire golems, which are resistant to physical attacks, and so there's no wounds. The shock troops hit the guardian golems, who are also resistant to physical attacks. After the resistance deduction, there is 2 damage left, so they do get a wound. The gunners are unblocked, and so they damage me instead, and they have 6 fire damage. However, they are also brutal, so that's 12 damage in total. My armor is 4, so I take 3 wounds. Then it's my attack phase. I use the second die from the source, the black one, along with my red crystal to cast Disintegrate on the Delphana Masters, killing them. This is allowed because I have removed their fire resistance earlier in the combat. I end the combat having killed the 2 strongest units, so I'm happy. I did use all my crystals though. I reroll the mana dice to red and blue. I did level up, and so I pick another skill. This time I pick Ritual of Pain and also Explosive Bolt as my AA card. I do also remember to add one of Noravas' skills to the common skill offer, and it's Bonds of Loyalty, which is a fantastic skill. Then I draw up to 9 cards again since I'm still near my keep. Dummy gets a blue card, which is 1 extra. It's the next turn and I decide to take the cards from under Sparing Power. I get Promise and Crystallize, and it doesn't really help me with the attack, so I decide to take a downturn and just clean up my hand a bit and generate some crystals. I do this by using my new skill to throw away 2 wounds. Then I play Power of Crystals to get a red crystal, and finally I use the blue mana die on Crystallize to get another free crystal, and I choose a red one. I also discard a stamina card just to make sure I get the best hand I can the next turn. The blue die is rerolled, but it stays blue. I wanted a black one so I could cast Firestorm, but oh well. Dummy gets a red card, which is excellent as he has 1 more card in his deck. My 3 new cards are Improvisation, Tranquility and Into the Heat. This is a much better hand for my second assault. I use the green mana die from the source to play Regeneration's stronger ability, which allows me to ready a level 3 unit, the Catapults. I play Explosive Bolt to get a white and red crystal, although I take a wound for it. I play Into the Heat, which gives my Catapults +2 attack for a total of 7, as I use a red mana to power it up to Fire Siege 5, and this is enough to take out the gunners before they can attack. I can't assign any damage to my units, so I end up taking 3 wounds, 1 from the golems and 2 from the shock troops. I do it this way as I want to finish the battle this turn. Now, the golems are killed by my fireball along with my attack skill, and the shock troops are killed by playing Improvisation for attack 5 and a wound sideways from the Ritual of Pain skill, which gives it a +3 attack. I discard Battle Versatility for Improvisation as I don't need more fighting cards after this. All the 3 defenders die and I have taken the White City. I level up and get another unit token, and my hand size increases to 7. I reroll the green mana and I get a gold. Dummy has just 1 card left, which means I have another 2 turns if I want. Now I am in my city and I have +5 influence here, so I use my last remaining crystal on Promise to get influence 9, although unfortunately I have -1 reputation due to my many assaults, so I need to also play my last card, which is Tranquility, sideways to get enough influence to hire the other catapult. But it's definitely worth it. I don't have any more cards in my deck, so that's the end of the round. And it's the final day. Demi gets a white card. Maybe I should have removed it with a controlled offers rule last round. Oh well, he also got a green crystal, which is okay. I was quite happy with the final night. I took the White City, which is what I wanted. And I also managed to recruit 2 level 3 units. I was a bit worried about my deck, and I feel I don't have a game-changing artifact or spell, but with the 2 catapults I am happier. I am a little bit worried that it basically took me the whole round to assault the White City, whereas now I need to move to the Megapolis and take it down before the day ends. I've counted the total armor of the units in the Megapolis. It's 44. I wonder if I even have enough damage in my deck to dish out 44 damage. But after actually counting it up, there should be enough. It'll be tight, and I need to make the most out of every card, but there's a little bit of buffer. I was anxious to see which units would be in the unit offer. There are some Amotep Freezers and Fire Mages, but no level 4 units. I picked the Rethink tactic, which means I go first. Dummy gets the remaining one, which is the right moment. I start by playing Power of Crystals to get a red crystal to my inventory. Then I decide to hire the Amotep Freezers. Their attack cancelling ability is so good. I put the white mana die from the source on Promise, which is enough along with my city influence bonus to hire the Freezers. I replace the injured guardsman with the Freezers. The mana die is then rerolled into gold, yes. The dummy's third card is the one he just got, a white one. So that means he discards 5 additional cards, not what I needed at all. I decide to play it cool and hire one final unit, the Fire Mages. I didn't get Threaten, but I have Improvisation, so I play that with the gold mana, discarding March. With the city bonus, that's enough to hire the Fire Mages, which replace the wounded Guardian Golems. I decide to play Tranquility to throw away my single wound card, and then I reroll the mana die into blue. Now I'm ready to throw everything I have at the Megapolis. Dummy gets a blue, which is 1 more card. I use the green mana from the source on Pathfinding, which along with my 1 move from my skill and Threaten played sideways is enough to move next to the Megapolis. Now, I don't assault the city as I want those 2 extra cards and being able to use a mana from the source. I hope I'm not playing it too carefully here. The mana is rerolled into blue. There's now 3 blue in the source. Dummy gets another white. Uh-oh, he is down to a single card in his deck. Have I left it too late? It is time to assault the Megapolis. I drew a wound and stamina, and I can use stamina to move into the city. I use Ritual of Pain to throw away 2 wounds. In hindsight, it would have been better if I had done that last turn, so I could have used the +3 wound sideways skill this turn. I use the Fire Mage's skill to get a red mana and a red crystal. I also use my Dark Fire Magic skill to get another red mana and another red crystal. I use a blue mana from the source on Crystallize, which means I can get a white crystal, which I can then use on Mana Pool, which then again means I can use the 2 other die from the source and set them to whichever color I want and use them. I set 1 of the dice to green and use it on concentration on swiftness for 5 ranged attack. I also use a red mana on Demolish to remove all site fortifications and give the enemy units -1 armor. I put a red mana on Battle Versatility for ranged 3 attack and use that along with the 5 from the concentration swiftness combo to kill the Defana Masters. I use 1 catapult to kill the green hero. It has 1 fortification only since Demolish was used and also -1 armor, so siege 3 from the catapult is enough to kill the hero. I use a red crystal to get 4 ranged fire attack from the fire golems and kill the illusionists before they can summon their monster. I set the second die to blue and use it on my freezers to make the enemy freezers not attack and also give them -3 armor. I use yet another red crystal on the other catapults, which means 5 siege fire damage on the Cryptworm who has -1 armor, and so he, or it I guess, also dies. Now for the blocking phase. I block no one. The fire mage is actually 8 fire damage because of the blue city. I block him with my own fire mages and they have fire resistance, so they reduce the attack to 4 and then take 1 wound. The Ultim Guardians attack the fire golems, and it's the same story, but in this case they get 2 wounds because the Guardians have poison attack from the green city. The Shadow deals 5 damage because of the blue city bonus. He gives the freezers a wound. Then it's my attack. I take out the enemy freezers with rage and my +2 skill, attack skill, since they have -3 armor from my own freezers earlier in the combat. And that's it for the first round of combat. I have 1 red crystal remaining and Arythea takes no wounds. Amazing. The 2 dice I used with mana pull stays the same, but the one I used on crystallize gets rerolled. I get a gold. Woo! I've killed 5 units and I get 30 XP. That means I level up and I get to pick from 2 new skills, but I actually have my eye on Norovas's inspiration skill, which means I have to pick diplomacy as my AA card. The dummy only had 1 more card left, so he uses up that card. Then it's a new turn and I use March to assault the city again. I immediately use my new skill to ready one of my catapults. I use Explosive Bolt to get a red and white crystal and also a wound. I use that white crystal to cast Expose on the Ultim Guardsman, which removes all resistances and fortifications from that particular unit. It also gives me 2 ranged attack, and with an added fireball, that's enough to kill the Guardsman. Again, I block no units. The catapults that were already used take 1 wound from the Fire Mage, and then I take 1 wound myself. The last unit is the Shadow. I take 2 wounds from him and then kill him with 5 Fire Siege attack along with a wound played sideways for 3 attack from the Ritual of Pain skill. I kill the Fire Mages with my attack skill, Determination and a Diplomacy played sideways. And that's it, I've killed all the defenders, I've conquered the Megapolis. I am successful in my mission. I have 1 more turn to improve my score, and let's see what we can do. I have 8 influence in the city since there were 8 units, but I also have -3 reputation because of the many assaults. But I play 2 cards sideways for another 2 influence points, and then I buy a spell for 7 influence plus my red mana. I get Burning Shield. Then I use the green mana die from the source to heal 2 of my own wounds. And that's it, that's the end. I have a few wounds in my deck, to say the least, and my units are bleeding all over the place. But I have taken down the Megapolis, and that's a victorious session. Obviously, there were a couple of misplays along the way, and I will learn from them. I have created a little table that I'm going to use from now on, and it's basically just to track the number of cards discarded by the dummy, and the number of cards played by me in a turn, and also which card was the last one. And this should make it easy to consult in case I'm ever unsure of whose turn it was last. In terms of the other errors, I think the recruiting guardsmen in the wrong place is one-off, but it's definitely one I'll keep an eye on whenever I recruit units in the future. And mixing up fire and ice resistance, while that is a pretty common error, it's again something I will have to consult the rules every time in the future, because it can be quite confusing, especially when you're trying to calculate a city assault or something like that. But even with those errors, I think this was a huge achievement and a really good session. I didn't think I had a strong enough deck, and I didn't have a single artifact that I could rely on to win the game. In the end, I think what actually won it for me was just having a decent deck with quite a few spells, but significantly having 5 level 3 units all ready to go at the same time. I think that was the killer move when I assaulted the Megapolis. And having a strong army is really good, but even without any level 4 units, I still think that was what made the difference this time. I hope you enjoyed this playthrough, and I certainly enjoyed playing it, and thanks for watching.